like to be called to the cloth and also navigate the dating world at the same time. Hey guys, my name is Keisha Rice and I'm the pre-wife coach. So I help single professional women learn how to get clear on what they really want out of a relationship, learn how to set boundaries, and attract the perfect partner for them. And in today's episode of Relate, I am talking with an amazing friend of mine. Pastor Courtney Colleton pastors a church in South Carolina. She is AME for those of you who are wondering. And she is also a single parent. So she and I talked about growing up in the church, how that affects the relationships, and also what it's like to be called by God to lead this flock and also handle the real world relationships with your family, with your friends, and when you're trying to date. I really think you'll enjoy this conversation, so take a look.
When I first came through the ministry in college, it was definitely a challenge because you're absolutely right. That's when most people take the opportunity to say, yeah, I'm finally out of my mom's house. I'm on my own for the first time. So yes, I'm going to explore wild out, do every kind of drug there is known to man. If there is anything else there is to do. It's kind of a challenge to try to make a balance of trying to find self, because that's actually what college is for. It's not necessarily for you to come out with a degree. Of course it is for to come out with a degree, but it's mostly for the experience, right. Learning how to live on your own, how to balance budgets, how to be you, and how to operate in a professional manner even afterwards. So being called and in college and trying to not, and being very so much challenged when friends say it's a Friday night, let's go out to 5 Points because we went to USC in Columbia. Let's go out to 5 Points and get lit. Yes, go Cox. So, let's go get lit. Let's go get tore up. And it's like, or go to those big Saturday games and tailgate until there's no tomorrow. Of course, you're going to have drinking at tailgates. So definitely it's a challenge. It was a challenge back then, but thank God I'm not the same way that I am now. So,
you're talking about being in college and friends and all that. How have you been able to cultivate friendships and support systems in your life? People who understand that what you do isn't a typical job.
The people that are in your life, in your inner circle, are there for a purpose and for a reason. It's like, it's amazing how to think that even in a college atmosphere where we were, 27 to 30,000 kids of all nationalities, different colors, and whatever the case may be, that we linked up and we connected. So obviously God had a purpose for us to be in this space, so where we can understand each other, to where we can help each other, to help where we branch out to each other. But also in cultivating those relationships, of course, you're going to meet a whole slew of people, but you also have to use your discernment. And not necessarily that's like one of them spooky ghost words for church kids. No. It just means, or better yet, like some of my friends, you know who you can vibe with.
I think it's crazy the way that we find each other. People who are preachers, people who grew up in ministry families. There's something that we go through, that we deal with, that makes people don't really understand.
It makes the friendship more unique. Because there's a level of understanding that not many people can enter into that space. No one can understand like the many times that you probably have cried because you've heard some of the horror stories of, or living some of the horror stories of, your dad's ministerial tenure of, cussing daddy out when, and it's like, wait a minute, you cussing my daddy out and I can't say nothing, or you're judging my mom and I can't come to her defense or something like that. So it's a unique situation when someone can really understand like the horrors, the victories, and all those other things that come into play when it comes into ministry. And first and foremost of all, ministry is a lonely road from any age level or any perspective. Even with the family, it's like, okay, because dad's gone most of the time, mom has to sit around and then has to battle, her mindset is like, what is my husband doing, or what is my spouse doing, and then I got these kids running around here, and how do I give them a balanced life without them being in church all the time and going crazy, but also on the same token trying to build them a spiritual life where they're comfortable after they leave the church. Because what many people don't realize is that most PKs leave the church.
I
most PKs leave the church after you turn 18, after they hit that college scene. They don't want nothing to deal with the church.
I definitely had a period in my life where I never actually left the church, but I was definitely going through the motions for a little bit because I just wasn't feeling it. And, I think a lot of PKs deal with that burnout period where they've grown up and all they ever did was church. And it's just like, really, I don't feel like going to a service today. I don't feel like doing this. Church life is crazy. People don't realize. No, I mean,
Church life is crazy.
Like, you grow up around ministers and you see ministers who, God works on everybody, but frankly, they have some questionable behavior and they do questionable things. And you see backbiting and gossip. And when you talk about being a preacher's kid, yeah, you see people make negative comments about, in my case, my dad, because he was the minister. And you want to lose all salvation and go off on them. And you can't do that.
That's good right there. That's absolutely good right there. Spirituality is mostly an emotional state of being, because we mostly feel God by how we feel. It's like if if something goes wrong in our life, we go on an emotional tangent and we want to blame God and everybody else in the mix for that particular moment. So the thing about it is that when you think about it from a young perspective and you don't have an outlet to go talk to, because of course, us in the African American community, we don't go to therapists, we stay at home, whatever things we're battling, we just have to battle it by ourselves kind of situation.
Yeah.
And so when you turn 18, when you turn at 18 and turning over into adulthood, it can be mostly destructive because you never had that outlet. And so all you're doing is replicating it's like, well, I thought that was okay because the church people did it. I thought it was okay because the pastor did it. I thought it was okay because I thought that this is how church life goes. And that's not the case.
You're single. So how is dating as a pastor go?
Do I have a dating life? Right.
We talk. Occasionally you mention somebody.
The occasional. The ones that after you tell them that you're a pastor that runs off after and don't ever come back. I'm for real. Like, this is my standard. Like, seriously, this is my standard. The reality is that normally I find someone, we go through the motions, trying to figure out who they are, I am. And I'm normally around about 6 months later, here I come dropping the bomb that, hey, I'm a pastor, because, and I know the question was, well, what do you tell them in the meantime? It's like, I just tell them where I work, on an everyday job.
Yeah.
I do from 9 to 5. And so, but also it's like, well, what do you do? It's like, so how do you combat, questions on what are you doing for the weekend and where do you go on Sundays? So it's like, I just tell them I go to church on Sundays and every now and again. It's like, so I'm not lying or I'm not lying by disclosing that, withholding that information. I just want to make sure that in my mind, for my mindset is that nothing should change after I drop the bomb. I had a conversation with a girlfriend not too long ago on Facebook Live about this. And a lot of people were very, didn't react too well to the fact that I dropped, that I released the information 6 months. They feel like that's a little bit too long. A lot of people think that I should have put all the cards out on the table initially, but and to a degree I can see where they're coming from because they would have ran away earlier, but maybe if I can find that one that can get into the middle of that balance, maybe that'll work. When
you're ready to find someone, I believe that he'll be there for you. But I also know that you're not in a rush, so not too worried about it.
I'm enjoying life. If you can't enjoy being with you, by you, then there's no need to even try to invite somebody else into your space. If you can't enjoy being by yourself and getting to know you, how can you invite somebody to enjoy in on your life if you don't know what you like in your own life? That's just
that is so true. And people don't realize that the person who's right for you, your spouse, or even other people in your life, your friends as well, their job isn't to complete you. It's to enhance your life, but you need to be a complete person on your own.
Thank you. Somebody say that again. Ding, 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 ding. You're absolutely right. Please say that. Please say that again for the saints and the ain'ts who don't understand this. They just jump into marriages thinking that, oh my God, everything is going to be fixed once we get down the aisle. I get to put on my white. We all look pretty for the pictures. And when I get that ring, and everything is just going to be over and done. And I'm like, you have lost your ever-loving mind if you think that. Because if that's the case, you're going to be searching for everybody. So you're going to be searching for in so many ways to complete you that you don't even know how to complete yourself.
I'm engaged right now, and that was one of the things. Thank you.
I feel like you should have put a ring on it.
But that was one of the things that my mom talked to me about. My parents have been married for well over 30 years now, and she was very clear to me that, there are days that my parents don't necessarily like each other. But they always love each other, and they know that when they have those issues, they're going to work through it and they're going to put in the effort. But I think it's very important to keep that in mind, the fact that the problems don't stop when you get married. In some ways, they're just
increase. When you especially if you never lived with that person before, and you're trying to get to know their patterns of how they live and what they've been accustomed to, and you're trying to mesh your ways of accustomed to it. It's like you're going to have to find a way to compromise and how to way to live with each other, that kind of situation. So absolutely. Initially your problems will definitely increase because you're just trying to mesh two worlds together. And as you mesh along, there are going to be some other issues that are going to come up, because guess what? As you get older, there's some things in life that you probably won't do. There's probably some things that you will do. There's probably some goals that you'll set. You'll have to see them through all this. And then on top of that, as you get older, of course, parents get older, and you have to make arrangements for how to live, how to move in these parents, or how to take care of two sets of parents who are going through dementia. That's a whole new set of kids, and you probably gonna have kids on top of kids, and there's a whole bunch of, and then by the time you get old and you really don't want to be bothered with each other because the romance is over, there's a whole new set of problems. So yeah, even to the grave there's going to be a problem, because somebody has to go before somebody, and you got to make sure that person, whoever gets left behind, is taken care of until they kick the bucket. And probably when you get into heaven, y'all probably just ain't gonna even y'all just gonna pass by each other and say, I ain't never know you.
Since we've been talking, you've had a couple of phone calls, and I know that Monday is a busy day for you because it's the day after Sunday. So people start thinking about the sermon and all that. How do you maintain the fact that you are shepherding a flock, that God has put all these people in your care, but also letting these people know that you have a life too?
It's all pretty much about balance and teaching balance, because you can't expect someone to read your mind. You can't expect somebody to know your schedule. You can't expect somebody to be respectful. Like they say, in order to get respect, you have to give respect. So I believe in that. Teaching is the most important part. And so I tell be upfront with my members. It's like, look, I'm here. I'm going to make you my first priority, but also in the same token, here are the boundaries and the rules and the guidelines. Of course, if you have an emergency at 12 o'clock at night, make sure, just make sure that it's a real emergency. Just like you wouldn't call 911 for somebody to fix up your big toe. Don't expect the pastor to pray for your big toe when you break it at 12 o'clock at night. That is something I can do early in the morning. It's all about teaching boundaries. And once you establish those boundaries, me as the pastor has to actually make the standard of what, present the standard, and not only present the standard, but keep up with the standard of boundaries. No, you can't walk in my house, at 8 o'clock at night. No, you can't sit there and call me at 12:45 in the morning if you're not ready to jump off no bridge, or you ain't ready to die. You can't do that, because how can you allow me to be my best self? You want the best the best quality of care from your pastor, but how can you want that? How can you expect the best quality care with someone you're ragging out all the time?
That is a great example that you set for your congregation as well, especially as a female pastor, because, you know, women were natural caregivers.
And we'll jump at the littlest things. And that's something I actually had to teach myself as a female pastor. Of course, we're nurturers by trade. And so the very first sad story that comes across the screen is, or come across the phone is like, oh, let me come run to you. Let me come grab your back. Let me make things better for you, make life better for you. Yeah. And then I had to learn, like, wait a minute. The same God that works out for my miracle I have to pray to work for my miracle. I think you can do the same. You don't want to counteract yourself to everybody else's problems and situations, meaning that you get so involved with their problems that you make their problems your problems. And then while they're sitting at home on chill mode because they figured it out, and you've been like, and you're all in a funk and you're all in this kind of mood because you don't know how to get yourself out. But they're on, they had home chilling because all they wanted to do was just call you for 2.5 minutes to vent and do whatever they need to do and pray, and they're good to go.
Let's talk about family. And does your family allow you to be just Courtney, just their daughter, just a mom to an 11-year-old, just a niece, just Cuzzo, or are you always Pastor Courtney?
No, my family's good. My mom and my dad allows me to, my mom, my dad, my inner circle of my family, immediate family, allows me to be Courtney. And then after you go about a couple of cousins down the line, then you have a balance in between, because I do have some fun cousins that allow me to be brave. And then there are just those who are just gun-ho, like, you're just going to be Pastor Courtney all the time. And so just like finding friends, you have to do the same rules apply for your family. And I have a cousin right now who's also in ministry. And the first thing that always comes and pops out of her mouth is like, all right now, you can't be doing that. Choose ye this day whom you will serve. I was like, well, I've been serving him ever since day one. I mean, so how does that apply to you?
I definitely have those people in my life who I love them to death, but they cannot say hello to me without quoting a Bible verse. And I love God, you love God, we all love God. Don't get me wrong on that. But at the same time, there are days when I want to talk about
love and I want to talk about love and hip hop, Atlanta. I want to talk about the Real Housewives of Atlanta.
Yes, I'd like a ratchet moment. Just one.
So I just want a place of normality. Because one thing about being a minister is that it's one of those things that is almost like a far reach. It's almost like we're living celebrity lives without the celebrity notoriety.
Yeah.
There's still people who look at you daily. There's still people who judge you for everything that you say. The only difference is that we're not on the big screens on television and we don't make as much money, but we're still under the same amount of scrutiny. Even for a female preacher, it's even worse because you can't wear everything. You can't show shape. You can't wear your heels. I wear mine. I don't care. But that's just the bottom line.
No, I definitely felt it. I still feel it now, even as a preacher's kid. At a situation a couple of weeks ago where someone was making comments about the fact that I was sitting at a bar, and it was lunchtime and the restaurant was full. Well, it was just easier to sit.
You want me to sit on my hands and wait on my food with my mouth wide open on the floor because I can't get a chair because you don't want me to sit at the bar and there's nowhere else to sit? Or do you want me to sit outside sitting on my hands with a sign saying, please serve me my food here? Like a homeless person, help me, God.
Or crash somebody else's table. Be like, I'm just going to this is a table for 4 and there are only 3 people here, so I know I don't know you, but I'm just going to sit here.
I won't be judged. I just need this space. I don't need your food table. I don't even want to eat the bread off your table. I just want to sit right here so I won't be judged.
I'm just hungry. Like, that's all. I'm just hungry. Like, one of the things that is great about our friendship is that I feel like you and I can talk about God and we can talk about the Bible. You and I can also cut up and talk about nothing that has to do with the Bible. And we can be random and just chill, and I can respect you both as Courtney and as Pastor Courtney. And also, I can come to you and be like, maybe this thing that you did was a bridge too far. Like, maybe that wasn't great. And you know that I'm coming to you out of love. And that you can do the same with me. And even if I don't like it at first, I know that it's out of love,
Oh, absolutely. And that's just the bottom line. That's a rarity. That's a rare gift. Friendship is a rare gift in itself, because the way that everybody's working out is me, myself, and I mentality. And when you go to church, they always talking about the hater mentality. Like, everybody wants to clap and say, hallelujah, I got haters. So if everybody's hating on everybody, then there's no friendships around. And so I appreciate the friendship that we have and how long that we have lasted. I know we gonna be riding to the ground with our friendship. I'm like, you know what? And she's very put me right next to her kids, and her, just play me off real quick. You ain't even gotta give me a choir. Just put me on in. Put me on in all the way down. Hold them down.
Girl, before that, the nursing home's gonna be lit. Like,
guys, I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. I love doing this series because it's been such a great opportunity to get to know the women in my circle even better. And I will talk to you guys soon, but I hope that in the meantime, these conversations will encourage you to have a coffee date or have lunch with one of the women in your life and see what you can learn about them that's new. Bye.